Today, we're going to talk about a truly shocking conflict, a full-on war between Pakistan and the Afghan Taliban. But, this isn't just any old war. This is the story of how a country ended up fighting a monster it literally created. So picture this. It's February 2026. You're in a high-stakes meeting room in Rawalpindi. Pakistan's most powerful generals are all there, huddled together, just staring at these satellite images of Kabul. And they're facing this bizarre and incredibly dangerous problem. The very people they had funded and supported for decades have now become their number one target. And then, boom, an announcement comes out that sends total shockwaves through the region. Pakistan's defense minister declares open war. But here's the kicker. It wasn't against their usual rival, India. Nope. This war was against the Taliban government in Afghanistan, the very same group that Pakistan's own intelligence agency had built from the ground up. So, that's the big question here, right? How on earth did this happen? How did an asset that Pakistan spent decades carefully building turn into its biggest, most terrifying nightmare? Well, the story is, let's just say, a lot more complicated than even Pakistan's top brass could have ever imagined. To really understand this war, we have to go back. I mean, way back, to the very beginning. Back to a deal that was made on the dusty streets of Afghanistan. All right, so it's 1994. Pakistan's intelligence agency, the ISI, they approached this guy named Mullah Omar. And the deal was pretty simple. We'll give you weapons, money, training. You just go take over Afghanistan and set up a friendly government for us. Pakistan's whole goal here was to create what they called strategic depth against India. And you know what? It actually worked. By 96, the Taliban had Kabul. And even after the US invasion in 2001, Pakistan was secretly helping them, basically playing both sides for 20 years straight. So you can imagine, when the US finally pulled out in 2021 and the Taliban just swept back into power, Pakistan was celebrating. The prime minister at the time, Imran Khan, he basically framed the Taliban's victory as Pakistan's own. They thought, great, our puppets are finally back in charge. But oh boy, they had made a huge, huge miscalculation. Because here's the thing they missed. A power that's born from pure religious fanaticism, you can't really control that for long. It's going to play by its own rules. And a very dangerous offshoot of that power had already turned its sights on its creator, Pakistan. And this is where the Pakistani Taliban, or the TTP, comes into the picture. Now, these guys, many of them were students from the exact same religious schools that Pakistan had supported. They fought right alongside the Afghan Taliban. But they were absolutely furious that Pakistan helped America in the war on terror. So they turned on the Pakistani state with one single, brutal goal: overthrow the government and install their own version of Sharia law. And to achieve that goal, the bloodshed they've caused is it's unimaginable. This number right here, 132. That's how many children the TTP murdered in the 2014 Peshawar school massacre. The terrorists went from classroom to classroom, just opening fire on kids as young as 8. It is without a doubt one of the darkest days in the country's history. So all of this history brings us to today, and to this crazy geopolitical trap. It's a seemingly impossible choice that has both Pakistan and the Afghan Taliban completely stuck. Okay, so this breaks down the core problem perfectly. On one side, you have Pakistan demanding that the Afghan Taliban go after the TTP, who are launching attacks from inside Afghanistan. But on the other side, the Taliban is terrified that if they actually crush the TTP, its thousands of battle-hardened fighters aren't just going to go home. No, they're going to join the Taliban's biggest enemy, ISIS-K. So for the Taliban, destroying the TTP could actually create an even bigger monster right in their own backyard. So you end up with this totally insane situation where Pakistan's biggest enemy is being sheltered by its oldest strategic friend. It's a bitter, bitter irony. I mean, it's almost identical to how Pakistan once gave refuge to America's enemies. History is repeating itself, and this time, Pakistan is the one feeling the pain. And with no easy way out, this whole stalemate just spiraled, and I mean quickly, into a deadly cycle of violence that dragged both countries into an open war. And this chart, wow, this shows you exactly why Pakistan felt like it had no other choice. Look at that. The number of people killed in terrorist attacks inside Pakistan nearly doubled in a single year. It went from around 2,200 in 2024 to over 4,000 in 2025. The TPP's attacks were getting worse and more frequent, and that really forced Pakistan's hand. The escalation was just boom, boom, boom. In late 2025, the TTP ambushes and kills 11 Pakistani soldiers. Pakistan hits back with something it had never done: airstrikes right on Kabul. The Taliban retaliates, killing 23 Pakistani soldiers. There was a brief ceasefire, but that was just an illusion. In February 2026, another TTP attack, more Pakistani airstrikes, and this time the Taliban launches a full-blown military offensive on the border. And that right there was the final straw. And then came what many are calling the absolute darkest day of this entire conflict. During the holy month of Ramadan, a Pakistani airstrike hit a hospital near Kabul. Afghanistan claims that over 400 people were killed, including children. Now, Pakistan said it was targeting terrorist infrastructure, but the images of hospital beds lying in rubble sparked outrage across the globe, and it forced a temporary pause to the fighting. Which brings us right back to where we started. Back to why Pakistan created the Taliban in the first place, and the ultimate, just disastrous irony of this failed strategy. Let's just break this down because it's wild. The goal was to use the Taliban to get an advantage over India. The reality? The Taliban is now signing trade deals with India. The goal was to create a friendly government. The reality? Pakistan is now at war with that very government. The goal was to control Afghanistan with a proxy. The reality? That proxy's offshoot is now trying to overthrow the Pakistani state. I mean, it is a catastrophic failure on every single level you can imagine. Think about that for a second. The weapon that Pakistan so carefully built and aimed at India has not only turned around to attack its creator, but it's now doing business with the very country it was designed to fight. So, this leaves us with one final haunting question. Pakistan is now desperately trying to put out this raging fire in Afghanistan to save itself, but this is a fire that it started in the first place. So, will it ever be able to put it out? And maybe more importantly, how many more innocent people are going to get burned in the process?